If you actually think about a mall, there is a platform dynamic.
Ultimately, if this thing is going to be successful, it's going to need to go much broader as well as deeper.
This is exactly the kind of stuff we need to see if you are going to compete against large tech monopolies. So this is very interesting. Rulala and Gilt are the same company. This fellow, Michael Rubin, is the CEO of the combined entity. Both of those are actually linear businesses. So they buy inventory, they keep it on the balance sheet, they resell it. Gilt's original business model was that they could get access to all of this kind of discounted merchandise and then resell it. But it was still a kind of wholesaler type of business model. It wasn't necessarily a marketplace where you have third-party sellers contributing the inventory and the marketplace doesn't take ownership over that inventory. So they're not really full marketplace. It's just really good kind of linear e-commerce shopping. Simon is the largest mall company in the United States. The CEO here, David Simon, says that they have over $20 or $25 billion in GMV. If you actually think about a mall, there is a platform dynamic to it connecting retailers.
It's just one that doesn't scale because it's constrained by the economics of physical space and how many stores you can fit in a location.
Yeah, there's definitely a platform dynamic. So it's interesting in this interview here on Squawk Box where he uses a lot of terminology that you would hear coming out of a marketplace company. He uses the term GMV. As we've researched before, GMV is a platform-specific metric. It doesn't exist for a linear retailer. It's a platform-specific metric. He talks about how they have $25 billion in GMV across all their malls, about how the one mall here in New York has at least $1 billion in GMV. And so what did they do? So they partnered up. They did a JV. It looks like it's 50-50 ownership here on a website. And that website is called shoppremiumoutlets.com. And so what they're trying to do is take the inventory from a lot of these outlet malls that they have. This one, Woodbury Commons, was the one with $1 billion in GMV that he was referencing in that CNBC interview. So he says, hey, there's $1 billion in GMV in Woodbury. How could we help our tenants? The seventh largest tenant was Forever 21 that we just covered on last episode that they've gone bankrupt. How can we basically help them not go bankrupt? How can we help them have e-commerce? How can we help centralize all of these brands, which is a marketplace concept, onto a common website and now let consumers buy from our tenants?
You get the mall experience digitally where you go to one place and it's all there.
Yep.
Difference being rather than going to a physical store and then walking next door to the different one, you can select the different companies on the website.
And basically, I think Michael and Rulala and Gilt, that combined entity, they're bringing the tech, and I think they're probably actually running this business in terms of understanding how to run a modern day e-commerce website business. Here, I am very optimistic, or I want to be very pro this, right? This is exactly the kind of stuff we need to see. If you are going to compete against large tech monopolies, we need to see more of these traditional incumbents having spin-outs, working with tech players that are maybe smaller, and how can we have more competition with tech monopolies, right? I'm all about that. Although I'm a little skeptical of how this is being rolled out. Maybe, and I don't want to be too judgmental because this thing just launched and obviously they can change a lot of this, but it's not true marketplace to me. It is marketplace in the sense that this is a site that is taking the inventory from all the brands.
Right. They don't own the inventory themselves.
It's marketplace in that sense. My problem with it is, so I went and I said, okay, let me look for some stuff from Tom Ford. Okay. I like Tom Ford. Here's the problem. There's only 24 items from Tom Ford. Yep. Now, I have been in the Tom Ford store in the, what's it called?
Woodbury Commons.
Woodbury Commons.
Yep.
I've been there. I guarantee you they got more than 24 items of stuff in Woodbury Commons. They've got blazers. I've gotten a blazer from there. They've got different types of gear. All they have here are sunglasses and like one thing of cologne. So what I'm getting at here is there's a big restriction on supply. Although with the support of Simon, They are helping to bring the initial supply and the initial inventory into the marketplace. This isn't as open as it needs to be. So they're clearly having challenges. How do I get all the stuff that's in the Tom Ford and the Woodbury Commons stuff online? And that is a very difficult, just logistically very difficult thing to do. How do I get good imagery? How do I know what the price is? How do I just know what the items are? That's a huge challenge. The second thing is there is no way for me on this website, there's no sign up button. If I'm a seller, let's say if I'm an outlet store, not in a Simon property, I can't sell stuff on here, or at least I can't find a way to sell stuff on here.
Right. How do you scale this network from that initial, even if they get all the products from Tom Ford, still not a ton of inventory from just their tenants.
Yep.
You really need to figure out how do you open this up and go beyond that. And the challenge I think they're going to have is, will their tenants let them? Because they're going to say, oh, why do I want to compete with these guys? But ultimately, if this thing is going to be successful, it's going to need to go much broader as well as deeper in terms of the inventory.
Yes. And I think, and part of the challenge, I'm just guessing here. Okay. I don't really know, but if I'm Michael and I'm the Rue Gilt team, they probably know that this thing needs to open up beyond the tenants in Simon Properties. And let's be honest here. They're the biggest mall company in the country. They're only doing $25 billion in GMV. It is a big number, but compared to the $277 billion of GMV from Amazon, it's not so big of a number.
Right.
This needs to be much bigger. They need to open this up. I would think about Simon as helping to bring the initial inventory, helping to bring their brand, helping to bring these brands and merchants and tenants that are already working with Simon. You're helping to bring that supply. And that's a big advantage, right? Because you're seeding the marketplace. But there's no reason that you don't enable other inventory to come online, even if they don't have a lease with a Simon property. And I think that's a big, probably strategic, conceptual issue. Right. This is an equal 50-50 JV. I bet that David Simon and the team there wouldn't necessarily be too happy about that, because they want this to be
supporting the core business.
And for this thing to actually work, it needs to be an independent business that is enabled by Simon's business. And if successful, could probably be worth more than Simon's mall business.
Right.
But it needs to grow beyond Simon. And it doesn't look like it's set up to do that. Maybe this is V1 and maybe they're coming out with future versions. I would love that. And they could still do that. So that's why I'm not totally knocking this. All I'm pointing out is that right now, I don't think this thing is set up to win. I think it's a good start, and you could make the changes to have it win. But right now, I don't think this thing wins as it is today. Those are some strategic decisions that they've got to figure out and get behind, but it needs more inventory. That's the biggest thing. Hi, this is Alex Mozed. Thanks for joining us on Winner Take All. If you enjoyed the content today, which I bet you did, please comment, subscribe, and definitely message me on Twitter when we're doing live streams. Also, please note, all opinions expressed about stocks or public companies on the show are exactly that, opinions. This is not investment advice. Don't act on it. WisdomTree licensed Applico's Platform Insights data product to aid in the creation of the PLAT ETF. Thanks for joining us.